Hello and welcome to 100. Episode 127 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name is Chet Rovers. With me, as usual, is John Denton.
Excuse me.
We're about to go through two top 10 lists. The 10 games we've been playing over the past 7 days. The number 10s are the games we've been playing the least. Number 1s are the games we've been playing the most. That's it, John. Let's do this.
My number 10 is NHL 15 on Xbox One, the demo version therein. This is also on your list, I believe.
It's higher up, but yeah, we might as well do it now. Yeah.
All right, yeah, I've literally only played one game. I played these games on and off for years, ever since the olden days, like the version that was on, is it Mallrats? Yeah, he plays it in Mallrats, and they play it in Swingers as well, don't they? This is another really, really good version. It looks great. It's weird. It starts off with real-life video footage of the commentators talking, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then goes into the game. Still plays almost exactly the same as it has done over the past years. I guess ice hockey fans, people who know the sport inside out, which I certainly don't, would be able to tell more of a difference than I can. It certainly seemed like the shooting and general goal scoring was a lot more believable than it ever has been before, because those games, they've kind of always been defined to me by the fact that you can just pepper the keeps at all times and he just saves everything and the goals just seem to go in randomly. I know every time I've watched ice hockey, it's never been like that. This seemed more realistic, I guess. But again, I've not watched enough ice hockey at all to be able to really make that sort of judgment. But those games have always been fast, exciting, back and forth. It's really nice to control, smooth ice skating, and mixed with the physicality of just smacking some guy with a body check into the wall. I've always liked ice hockey games. They've pretty much always been good. I don't ever remember playing a particularly bad one, whether it be this series or like the 2K ones, or even like Blades of Steel on the NES, which was top corns. But yeah, this seems really good. In the olden days when I had more time, I'd always pick up an NHL game. I was NHL Breakaway as well on the N64. That was really good. I don't know if I'm going to have time these days to be able to play another sports game beyond a footy game and a bit of NBA, but it does seem like the real deal.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I play these games almost every year as well, although never for very long, because I can never get anyone I know to play them with me.
Yeah.
So it's not like a FIFA where there's always someone to play against. But yeah, like they have been of a very high quality for a very long time. This agreement that they've clearly come to with some kind of NBC Sports network is, I think it's really cool. It's kind of reminded me of the NBA 2K games in that it's really dedicated to looking like broadcast TV, and it does it really well. Yeah, the game's really fun. Like you, I'm not an expert in the sport, so it's hard for me to know either what's different or better. You know, it's just fun straight away. Although in terms of the presentation, the celebration animations, every single time I scored or got scored against, they played the same animation.
Oh, did they?
Of the player fist bumping his players. It made me think of EA UFC. A very, very noticeable bit of corner cutting. Because EA UFC, all of those animations are exactly the same, and that may jar, after a while. But yeah, the crowd looked good as well. Did you see the guy in the paper crown?
I saw a couple of different guys doing funny dances after I scored.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it, it cracked me up.
Yeah, me too. The guy in the paper crown is my boy. But yeah, the AI of the keepers was not great. Once I got used to the game, I was just whipping the puck past them pretty much non-stop. So whether the full game's going to be like that, hopefully not. The fact that there's two control styles, has there always been two? There was like
for the last few years, yeah. They put the old 2-button control in, which is what it was back in the 90s, the mid-90s. So they put that back in for the old school fans, I think, and yes, they've just kept it in there. But there's a 2-button control scheme in FIFA as well, isn't there?
There is, yeah. But I didn't have the time to go and look at what the hardcore option was like. But
did you play with the 2-buttoner?
I just used the basic one, just so it felt like an old Super
Nintendo. Oh right, I used the one with you can do everything on the right stick. It's really nice. You can kind of manipulate the right stick to move the puck like backwards and forwards. Remember that bit in the Mighty Ducks at the end where he's got to do triple deke? You can do that with the right stick, and then you also use the right stick to slap shot and things like that. It works really well. They've had that in there for quite a while now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I've used the last couple of iterations. But I just thought this is just a demo. I just want to see if the game's fun.
Sure.
So I just picked. But I mean, I'll probably pick up the full game at some point just because they are really, really good, and pretty much always have been.
Yeah, it'll end up on that EA thing anyway, won't it? Eventually.
So it will. That'll be worth picking that up.
Yeah, for sure.
Almost just for that. So yeah, good. Okay, all right. Well, my number 10 is a game called Recall on the Xbox 360. It is an Xbox Live indie game. Do you remember, or do you recall?
Do I recall? Yeah.
I was just saying, yeah. Do you recall a game I spoke about called Anunnaki's Errands?
Vaguely.
Yeah,
that name rings a bell. Yeah.
It was an unspeakably shitty first-person shooter where you ran around an endless set of cave corridors shooting women who were wearing bikinis. And what little amusement there was in that game was mostly derived from the fact that the women were so badly animated that they looked more like the Studio 54, Roswell, underground in the desert.
Studio 54, Area 51.
Area 51, yeah. So rather shrewdly, the game's creator has enlarged the heads a little bit and removed the bikinis and thrown them into an endless set of space station corridors and just called it Recall. So needless to say, this is every inch the tedious shithouse that its predecessor was. And to cap it all off, after walking around the space station for about 2 minutes each time, I kept wandering into this portal, which took me to a cave where I got to shoot half-naked women instead of slightly clothed women with bulbous heads, which basically threw me back into the game I'd already played. There is actually a new gameplay system here, which is when you get a certain score, you unlock a memory. So I played for a little while and I unlocked the first high score and I got a memory. And to my shock, the memory, this prize, was a picture of a woman in her underwear saying something like, "Hey, unlock more for more memory." I forget it. Forget I spoke about it. I mean, it's just fucking garbage.
All right, that sounds great. Right. Area 54, indeed. My number 9 is Swing Copters on Android, also on iOS. This is the new game from Dong. No, I shouldn't have even attempted that. The guy who made Flappy Bird.
Yeah.
Nagoyan, I have no idea how you pronounce that. And it's utterly shit. Utterly shit. A proof, if ever was needed, that guy, as rich as he now is, and I feel sorry for him because his life got turned upside down by that game, and it did seem quite a sad story in the end. But the guy's a fucking hack because this is just bollocks. Have you seen it?
No, but I mean, people are playing it.
Yeah, right, I mean, it's absolutely blown up just like Flappy Bird, but it's unplayably shit. It's basically Flappy Bird but turned 90 degrees, so you're going up the screen, and you're this little fella that's got a helicopter hat, or I don't know, it doesn't matter. And he has to get through gaps like you do in Flappy Bird, but the gaps also have swinging mallets on them. Right. Same shit. But the control system, you tap the screen and he just veers violently to the left. So you tap it again to make him veer violently the other way. It's almost impossible to control. I've played quite a bit of it. I managed to get a score of 2 just by tapping the screen. Most people can't even get 1. I've since tried to actually get more than 2, and I've not even got 1. Trying to play it properly, like swinging him backwards and forwards. I guess if you were to play it for ages, you might get to grips with the control system, but why the fuck would you? It's just shit. It's shit. He's a terrible, terrible game developer, but all power to him. If you can get everyone to play your game, then you must be doing something right. What is quite funny is he's now basically created a kind of dominant mobile phone aesthetic by basically ripping off Mario for Flappy Bird. But that's now what all mobile games look like. That Timberman looks like that. Obviously all the actual rip-offs look like that. That font, that style, the play button icon, everything looks exactly like that. The pixel art graphics. This game looks like that, obviously. The same fonts as Flappy Bird. So it's kind of weird. He's sort of, created this style that is a complete rip-off in the first place. But yeah, I can't hate Dong Nagoyan because he's just doing what he's doing, but this is bollocks.
I saw someone on Twitter posted their highest score and it was 1, and I thought it was a joke, but that is legitimately like what happened.
Yeah, I managed to get 2 straight away just by tapping, just hammering the screen, and it was a complete fluke. So I've tried that another 10, 20 times and it's not worked. And then ever since then, I have managed to get 1 just by swinging the guy backwards and forwards, but it was just luck. It's crap. Yeah. I mean, Flappy Bird was crap, but this is utter shit. At least Flappy Bird was a game.
Has it got the same? I can't remember what the payment model was. Was it just pay to remove the adverts on?
I don't even know if there was. There is. I mean, that may be in there, but it mainly just makes its money from having adverts, I think.
Oh, of course, yeah. Right.
Most of which is like an anime girl just shoving her arse right into your screen, which is quite funny and completely inappropriate for a game that's going to be played by children. But whatever.
Okay, well, I'll have a look at that just to know what it is. Check it out. That guy Dom Nguyen, however, that's the same surname as the man who made the film Birdemic. So maybe they're related, because that's one of the worst films, stroke best films ever made. But yeah, okay. My number 9 is a game called Skyforce 2014. I spoke about it last week. It should have been much higher on my list, but I don't have much to add to what I already said. It's the old-fashioned top-down aeroplane shooter remake on iOS and Android. I played it again just to capture footage for a YouTube video, which you can check out if you want to see what it looks like. There's a video on our YouTube channel, and it's just classy. It's kind of a shame about the free-to-play trappings, but they can be bypassed, as I explained last week, basically. It's compelling. It's actually too compelling, because when you're playing something that's either inherently stressful or you're on the verge of beating your high score at it, and you notice that you're gripping a control pad really, really hard, almost like it's going to break, or pressing down on the buttons like you're trying to turn them inside out or something. I had that realisation for the first time with an iOS game, that I was doing something similar, and I swear I felt like the tip of my forefinger was going to have a blister on it when I finished that level, because I couldn't stop myself pressing down really hard. So it's not necessarily a game to binge on, but it's free, it's on Android, it's on iOS. Do it. Skyforce 2014, like it very much.
I need to pick that up. I forgot, but I shall. That does sound good.
It's good, very good.
Okay, my number 8, which I think is also your number 8, by pre-agreed. We don't normally pre-agree these sorts of things, but yeah, it's FIFA 14. You and I decided to play again. We're just idiots, basically. We keep saying that we're not going to play it anymore, and then continue to play it. Almost as pointless, trying to prove a point to David Turner, sometimes co-host of this podcast and long-time host of JoyPod, that the game is shit and that he's wrong about everything. So we decided to play as championship teams, because the theory being that when you don't play as a 5-star Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man City type team, you end up not playing against those teams, and therefore the game is better. So we played as Brighton first, and then Millwall later. But it's still the same shit game. In many ways, it's better because you're not having to deal with Ronaldo and Bale and Messi and Ibrahimovic, and the fact that they're completely unstoppable. But in other ways, it just kind of highlights how stupid the game is, because on one hand, you've got these championship level players. In the grand scheme of all the people in the world, would be amazing footballers, but in the grand scheme of professional football, they're not that great. And they're raking passes around the field like vintage Paul Scholes, or crashing volleys into the top corner, just like, the best players of all time. But then 2 seconds later, they can't control a football. And the game is still completely predicated around that lofted through ball. Like, the pace of the attacking runner who's running from deep through the back line, compared to the pace of being able to run backwards, or most of the time you can't because of the way the momentum works. It's just ridiculous. You can't stop it. You can't play a deep defence to counter it. You're always going to get caught high up the pitch. The game is completely structured around that move. And every goal we conceded and every goal we scored was that. And when I scored from that, I didn't feel... There was no satisfaction whatsoever. It just made me feel like the game was shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's that. It was less pain... And then we did play as Real Madrid and we actually won. But I felt even worse doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is the PS4 and Xbox One versions we're talking about. I should stress that again, because the last gen versions don't have many of these problems, but the Xbox One version is laughably poor. And I had hoped that this was kind of like a rushed side project, and that FIFA 15 was going to be a sequel to the other generation version of FIFA 14, but they may be building on these rickety foundations instead of taking an axe to them, but I'll talk more about that in a short while.
Okay. Yes, yeah, enough. I'm not playing anymore. Enough. Yes, really.
The annoying thing is that it's on my hard drive, so I'm just like, and friends of mine got the same bundle, so everyone's got it. Should we have a game of FIFA just so we're not shooting things because we've only got shooters? Yeah.
That's the thing. I should play Pro Evo, but it's like I've got to get the HDMI and plug that in, and then it takes 2 hours to load into a game, and then it might be laggy.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Just bring on November already.
Yeah, real. Real Madrid. My number 7 is Olli on the PlayStation 4, which I believe came out either today or yesterday, and brilliantly is cross-buy with the Vita version, which I've had for ages. So it's just one of those games you can download for free. I also did the same with Hotline Miami, but I don't really have anything to add to that game, so I didn't bother putting it on the list this week.
Yeah,
Olli is the excellent 2D skateboarding game that was on Vita. Very hardcore, kind of. It looks can be deceiving because it looks like a mobile game, and it was originally a mobile game that ended up being a Vita game and not appearing on mobile. But it is definitely like a hardcore, skill-based, kind of old-fashioned game in many ways, but requires a dexterous use of the left stick to flick out tricks, much in the same way as you do with skate. And you have to time your landings and your grinds perfectly as well. And it's all about getting into a flow as you move through these levels, which are kind of structured almost like endless runner levels. And then as the game gets harder, you start having to go across very difficult obstacles. And it's about combining tricks to scores and actually just getting to the end of the level. Because if you bail, that's it. You're back to the beginning of the level. It's the same game as it is on Vita, but the DualShock 4 is just a nicer controller for playing Olli than the Vita controller. There's no two ways about it. That stick's just way better. It was fine on Vita. It was great on Vita, but this is just better version. Whether I'm going to spend time battling through all those levels again, unlikely, because it's a very difficult game, but it's nice to have it. It's just kind of nice to have it on the console. It's not going to take up a huge amount of room on the hard drive, and it's a great game. And they have that great daily grind system where there's a daily challenge that you can just jump on, do that, set a score, and then move on with your day. So that's a good reason to have it on there, if nothing else. And yeah, it's if you haven't played Olli and you're thinking about something that can kind of test you in an old-fashioned way and really push your limits, but it's also when you do nail it, it's incredibly satisfying. There's a real sort of satisfying tangibility about landing the tricks and getting into a flow. It does really good stuff with the audio, like the noise where you hit your landing is perfect. I love stuff like that. It's a cracking game. I can't remember actually, because it was just available as a download. Obviously, the price didn't appear, so I apologise. I can't actually remember how much it cost, but it isn't much, if I remember correctly.
I take it visually it's identical to the...
Yeah, it's identical. It looks nice on an HD screen, but it's still very simple graphics, and that nice kind of laid back original soundtrack, which is really nice as well. Great game, really good.
Yeah, I loved it. I just never had the opportunity to play it again on Vita. The fact that it's on PS4, I will download it, and I'll probably play it a lot longer than I did on Vita. I take it it's all like cross-save and stuff.
Cross-save? I don't know. Maybe if I go back into the Vita version, I can upload my save. No, I don't know about cross-save. It's definitely cross-buy.
All right. Well, I'll download it anyway, because I think I'd play it for a lot longer on PS4 anyway.
Yeah.
My number 7 is a game called A Rite from the Stars. I played it on a Mac. It's due to arrive on Mac, PC, Linux, and Wii U in February next year. Have you heard about this?
Oh, what's this?
This is a strange situation. It's currently on Kickstarter, and it's sitting at 25k with 8 days to go, and the goal is 40k. So I don't think it's not looking brilliant, but it's not looking awful either. I don't really understand the situation, as I was sent this demo by an indie publisher. So what that means, I have no idea. Is it getting published regardless? Are they putting up some of the money on the Kickstarter? I don't know. Are they helping to publicise the Kickstarter for some reason? No idea. So I don't know if this demo is supposed to... I don't know. I plead ignorance. Anyway, if the idea is that this demo is supposed to help its cause and raise more money from it, as far as I'm concerned, it's a terrible failure. Although I will point out that this is basically a sort of point-and-click adventure type thing, and that's a genre which I'm not particularly fond of at all. It's very scrappily animated, cartoonish, where you play as a member of this tribe that they live in the jungle. They all wear leaves and handkerchiefs over their faces, and they talk in primate, like ooga booga sort of gibberish. The demo begins, and it asks you to pick a path, and there are 3 of them. The first one leads you into a space where you click right, the left and right click, move 2 different characters around while you're avoiding this monkey that's throwing projectiles at you. I kept dying. I gave up. The second space had a load of rotating circular mirrors in it, and you had to direct beams of light over this big boulder, which is just an activity that's so overdone. I just never want to do it again. I couldn't crack the very, very simple puzzle after about 5 minutes, so I gave up on that one. And the third and final space was a swamp where you can trigger some kind of alternate vision in which these small rocks come alive and they start talking to you. I clicked on everything on the screen and I just couldn't find any way of continuing, so I switched it off. I did play this at a point, and I don't know whether this makes a difference, but I played it at a point at which I assumed that this was a funded game and was due to be distributed by a publisher. And hey, maybe it still is. I don't understand that situation, as I said. But that may explain why I found the game's outright lack of invention and just overall care to be so depressing. Nothing about it's original, nothing about it is skillfully done. To be brutally frank, do you know what it really reminded me of?
What's that?
That PS3 Uncharted rip-off, The Trials of Ibn Batuta. I mean, it was just like... It's not as outrageously incompetent as that game was, but I played it in a similar state of kind of like heightened bafflement. I was just like, what? Why are these people toiling away on this? Does anybody want this? I mean, I guess they do because it's made $25,000 so I'm probably very wrong. But I was just mystified. Like, this is a game with no invention, nothing, no originality, nothing. But I will be the first to say that I had no desire to continue. And this is only an alpha build, but it's just a smattering of elements and systems that I don't like. But nevertheless poorly executed completely. I don't know. I hated this, but it's an alpha. It's not my genre. I just absolutely did not enjoy it. I shouldn't generalise, but it's also made by a Spanish studio. And every time over the last couple of years I've discovered that a game was made in Spain, the game in question was awful. So not a lot of games come out of Spain, but the hit ratio is quite low. I have to say. But I don't know how this has made that much money on Kickstarter. I don't know why this publisher is involved. I was just a mystery. A load of things everyone's seen before, poorly done. But it's early. Who knows? It's not my genre of beer.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like my cup of Earl Grey.
Well, it's a free demo. I can forward it to you if you want.
Well, yeah. You might as well.
Actually, yeah, I will do that. Just so maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, did that actually. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, my number. Where are we? Number 6 is WWE Supercard on my phone again. It's probably technically my number 1. It's just it's not an obsession. It's not the point like a new style soccer style. Can't put it down, ruining my life. But it does come on quite a lot when I've got time to spare. The more you play it, the less sophisticated it is. It also has this, along with the normal exhibition mode, which works like Top Trumps, has this mode that's called King of the Ring, which you basically send out a stable of cards and then the AI plays out matches against opponents for you, and then you have to like restock their stamina in between matches with other cards that you've got from picking in between. That it doesn't. I don't know if it just doesn't work properly or it doesn't make a lot of sense or I don't really understand that mode, but I seem to put it on and then I'll go back later and things have happened and then I've got some more good cards. So I'll keep doing it even though it makes no sense whatsoever. And then the main game is, it's dumb as fuck. It's got to the point where, and I played this for hours, so I'm not particularly for free, so I'm not hugely upset by that. But it's got to the point where I'm really struggling to find. Basically, when it comes to the point where you pick new cards, you've got a screen full of face down cards, and you can pick 2 if you win, 1 if you lose. Earlier on, basically, if you get the best card out of that lot, then it will reset. Earlier on, I was doing that. You get the best card, and then it resets. You add that card to your deck, whatever you want to do. But now I'm at the point where it will also reset if you get like a golden energy type card for that other game mode. And all I'm getting is those now. So you'll like get through 20 duff cards, get some golden card, and it resets again. So basically the idea being you need to start paying for more picks to ensure you get the super rare cards and then the legendary cards as you move up and up and up. It's annoying because I was enjoying it as it was, but at the same time, it's like I have played this game for hours for no money whatsoever. I can understand why it's sort of leaning in that direction now. It's still letting me play and win comfortably without asking me for any money. It's one of the least unpleasant type of money-grabbing business models that I've experienced in one of these games, but it's still a bit of a pain in the ass because I hate being asked for money for something halfway through. Ask me up front. We've said this a million times, but that's the way it works. And probably if it had cost £2 in the first place, I'd never have bought it. So there you go. I won't spend any money on it, I'm sure, but I'm sure some people will. People seem to be enjoying it because it's fun. Dumb-ass fun.
I thought you were going to chuck a couple of quid at it or something.
Was I?
I think you said, I'll happily buy some microtransactions.
You know me, I'll say one thing one day and another thing the other day, and I don't remember the first thing that I said.
Yeah, all right. Roger. Well, I mean, it's on my iPad, so I'll play it before next week. But
yeah, Dave likes it, and he knows nothing about wrestling and hates wrestling. I don't think you need to like wrestling at all.
All right. Well, yeah, I'll play it before next week.
Yeah.
Talk about it. Sounds interesting at least. Well, my number 16. My number 16. My number 6 was NHL 15.
Okay, cool. I'll keep going then. My number 5 then is bizarrely Marvel Lego Superheroes. Lego Marvel Superheroes, whatever you want to call it, on PlayStation 4. As I've talked about over the past few weeks, my little boy has really got into sitting down and watching me play video games, and he grabs a controller and plays along, and he absolutely loves it. We've been doing Mario Kart would be my number 1 by distance, but I'm not going to talk about it this week because he just forces me at any free moment to play that game, which is no chore. But yeah, decided the other day to pop out and grab another game to see if he would like to watch this one. He likes fucking Iron Man and all that stuff, Captain America, and what a splendid game it is. We did the mission from the demo, and then I think 2 more after that. He absolutely loved the Lego Mr. Fantastic, who you can turn into a teapot. Fucking hell, I mean, it was cracking me up. He was in hysterics.
Yeah.
So I had to turn him into a teapot about 50 times, but every single time he turned into something else, it creased me up. I hope is he in the game again later?
Yes, he is.
Oh, believe me, he's brilliant. So, and then the level after that was like Black Widow and Hawkeye, and he didn't know who they were, so he was a bit bored by that one. But he'll be excited again when it's people he knows. But yeah, what a splendid. I mean, it's such a great kids game. It's probably going to be another 6 months or so before he can play himself in co-op. He's not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Especially with the game, because you have to have the different characters solve the puzzles. They're easy, but each character has to solve different puzzles around the levels, don't they? Standard Lego game stuff, so he wouldn't be quite there for that then. But yeah, it looks great on PS4. I mean, it looked great on PS3 when I played it as well, but the frame rate wasn't quite there. Did you play it on next gen or current gen?
I'm pretty sure it was on the Xbox 360.
Yeah, the PS4 version, I mean, it really does look absolutely gorgeous in parts, and the frame rate's rock solid. And you just can't knock it, really. I couldn't have a bad word to say about it. If I was to sit there on my own playing it, I'd probably get a bit bored after a while because it's so simple, but even then, I'd find it charming. But to play it with a little boy who's getting excited by all the things that are happening, laughing his head off, is just, I mean, what an amazing bunch of games they are. I'm seeing them in a different light now. I'm seeing them kind of what they're, that's what they're for. They're sort of designed for parents to play with their kids, really. And I'm looking forward to getting through this one, and then I'm sure when he's older, he'll want to do all of them. So. It won't pay me to do that by any stretch.
Well, they do hold the latter ones, especially hold up really well if you play them on your own. Because I sort of flip between playing them on my own and playing them with my girlfriend, and they do hold up surprisingly well. The early ones did get very boring because they were really simple, but
yeah, they barely had any puzzles in, didn't they?
Exactly,
yeah.
It was just walk around and hack stuff up. Whereas these new ones are just like they're so well crafted, and they move so quickly, and they spend the money on the set pieces as well. There were some really great big set pieces. There was actually in that one as well. There were some really memorable big bits of action in there. But I love those games. I'm still waiting for them. I suppose if they've done a week one recently, The Hobbit was a little bit on the. It was still pretty damn good, but it was just a slightly lesser game. But then again, I hate the source material, so. But they haven't made a bad game in a very long time.
The new Batman one's out soon, isn't it? That looks good.
If that's even half as good as Lego Batman 2, with that amazing relationship between Batman, Robin, and Superman, it was just that. I mean, the game was great, but that stuff was hilarious.
Yeah, I'll be playing that one next, I'd imagine.
That's really good, really good. But they all are. So yeah, all right. Gleam. Okay, all right, well, my number 5 is Titanfall. I wasn't going to talk about it, but I've played it way too much. I mean, I've played it a stupid amount over the last 7 days, so I thought I had no choice. That's primarily because I'm now regen 10. I have prestige 10 times, which is the maximum number of times that you can regen prestige, whatever you want to call it, which I never thought I'd do in a million years. But when you've done that, you realise that is the game. A friend of mine is refusing to regen because he's got his loadouts and his weapons and he doesn't want to lose them.
Yeah.
And I keep telling him, being led through everything that the game has to offer, all of the different Titan weapons, all the different pilot weapons, all of the kit, just shows the true greatness of the game. It's another thing that showcases how great the game is. All of my loadouts are now full because I basically use everything in the game and want to be able to change my loadout to combat like what other players might be doing. Anyway, like I said, it's more proof, if it were needed, and it wasn't, that Titanfall was a masterpiece. It was one on day one, and it's still one now. And it's just, I'm kind of disappointed that I've got to the top of the tree. The game's still going to be amazingly fun, but I'm almost tempted to start again, although I can't. So there you go.
Crikey. Start again, imagine.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, it's the perfect amount of time because the other shooters are starting to arrive now.
Yeah.
But, it brings that. That's what the game is. The game, because you level up so quickly and you can regenerate so fast. I feel like I've done the game as it was meant to be done.
Yeah, I'm Generation 3 now, which I think's equalled the most I've ever prestiged in anything. And this is the first one where I'm starting to have to use weapons that I've not chosen to use before. And I can see, I'm definitely intrigued to do that, especially based on what you said. Yeah. Did you see they announced the new mode today?
Didn't you take...
Oh, I did, yeah, sorry. Yeah, the 8v8 pilot only, no AI, no Titans mode, which, kind of almost sounds like a cop-out, but I'm interested to play it. I just hope that's not a direction that they lean in go forward.
Yeah, and it would be a shame if they... Is it going to replace Mark for Death?
No, that's now permanent mode.
Oh, good. Okay, well then I don't care. I mean,
it'd
be interesting. I'm sure it'll work great. I mean, I don't... when people were clamouring for this mode to be part of Titanfall, I did just think, what's the point? But it's still going to be fun, I've no doubt.
And it won't get cycled into the variety pack because the team sizes are different, so you've got to go, choose to play it. But I played a fair old bit of Titanfall this week. Well, I haven't played that much, but it's not enough for it to warrant being on my list. Yeah. But and the new shooter's out very soon. Where are we? August 28th, September 9th. So not long till Destiny time.
Yep.
My number 4 is a selection of Mario games, mainly Mario 3D World, but also a bit of Super Mario Galaxy 2, which I dug out and played a bit. And my complaint about both of these wonderful and incredible games is, specifically for Galaxy 2, but also a pain in the ass for 3D World, is the grind. The fact you have to grind for stuff to get to the game's content. It's annoying. It's really quite bad in Galaxy 2. When I put it back on, I've got like 65 stars, I think. Left that game way too early. And I can't progress. I have to go back and do like speed runs on earlier levels and things. It's not like there are secrets on the levels that I haven't found or standard stars I've not done. I've done all the stars, but it's asking me it's just annoying. Just let me get to the levels. I'll do all that stuff later if I want to. And then Mario 3D World, I've beaten the last boss, I'm in space, I've got to the end of the first bunch of space levels. I've got about 180 stars, which is quite a lot. And it's I think it was 175 or something, and get to this level, it's locked off, and it says 210 stars. It's like, I've already been back through the game grinding for stars to get to these levels. You ask him, I don't mind doing a few more, but do I seriously have to get 35 more stars just to get to the next set of levels? And I've read what they are. They're just a bunch of fucking retreads anyway.
Oh.
So it's just annoying. Mario 64 didn't lock off its content like that. Super Mario World, which I did all of when I was a young kid, all 96 levels and all that jazz, didn't lock its content off in this way. And it's just annoying that this game does. I don't mind some of it being locked off by stars, but there's a lot. It's like somehow I have to go back through these levels. I mean, I've played some of these levels so many times just to get these stupid stars, and even when you get them, you still have to finish the level, and it's kind of just spoiling my enjoyment of the game. And my boy wants me to play it, but it's like, I can't play this anymore when you're in the room, because all I want to do is swear, because getting the stars on the harder levels is a complete nightmare. So yeah, it's kind of soured me on the game slightly, especially as the game's quite easy for most of almost to the point where it's easy, but it's so charming because it's so inventive, and then suddenly it's just like it's just an unpleasant grind. Rayman games do this as well. You get right to the end of the game, and suddenly you have to go back through the game 5 times, grinding for all this bollocks just to get to the end. I just don't get it. I know it's like padding out or whatever, but there's a bunch of levels there that I just want to play. I don't want to have to play these levels 50 times each. But yeah, I mean, they're amazing games, obviously.
Yeah, I mean that is annoying. I mean that whole idea of preventing you. I mean, yeah, again, this is something that's come up many times before. That is annoying. I don't remember it being. I mean, I didn't finish everything that there was to do in 3D World, but I'm in fact certain I did on Mario Galaxy 2. And I never found that a problem. I mean, I think I was just enjoying the game. Yeah. That game's so good that it could have asked me to do anything to go and get scars.
The thing is with that, again, it's hard. Well, that's much harder than 3D World. And again, I can't. I've talked about my relationship with Mario in the past, and like Mario brings out the worst in me as a human being, as much as I love him, and I can't be that guy. It's not just the words, the swear words. My son can't see that side of his father at that age because he won't understand, and I told him I had to turn it off because I was getting cross, and even that kind of disturbed him slightly. So I just thought, okay, he cannot see me flipping out, swearing, calling him a cunt, smashing up the controller. That's not going to be good for his long-term growth. So yeah, I think Mario Galaxy might tap out on that one for a while. Stick with like Pokemon Stadium or some shit.
Okay. I mean, Galaxy 2 is definitely more difficult later on, but it's just so gratifyingly hard. But then again, of course,
it's not the game; it's the situation.
Of course. All right. Well, I love both of those games, but there you go.
I thought you were going to say I love you then.
Yeah, you wish, boy. Okay, my number 4. I don't know if this is on your list as well. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
It's actually my next one.
Oh, good. All right. Well, I've done some more. I'm on the final level. It's still like just non-stop, wonderfully inventive and challenging. I can't remember if I mentioned it last time I spoke about it, but the music is stunning.
It's amazing.
But I mean, occasionally completely demented. It's like it's what you expect music to sound like in a game like this, but also not really at all. Just really memorable and off the wall a lot of the time. And I know I said this on this podcast a year ago, or whenever I was playing the Wii Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
But I never got and have never gotten aggravated by this game. My failures always feel like my own fault, and that's a real genuine pleasure because it's so nice to mutter "idiot" to myself rather than just yell "fuck this game," which is what happens when something isn't as meticulously designed as this is. The easiest comparison, the laziest comparison, is always is to compare these games to the 2D Mario games, and I think that what was it, Super Mario Brothers U, the Wii U launch one?
Yes,
that was the best 2D Mario since Super Mario World. This is comfortably superior to it.
Definitely.
And I mean, it's a stunner. It's visually stunning, but in terms of level, boss, enemy design, it's just a masterclass. And yeah, if you own a Wii U and you are prone to bragging about the peerless exclusives that it has, this is another one. Don't mistake it for anything other than just a barnstorming video game. This should sell Wii U's. Maybe 15 years ago it may have done. It's fucking tremendously good.
Yeah, when you say you're on the last world, is that 5 or I thought there's actually 6. I didn't realise. I thought there was only 5. There's like another one after that.
Oh, good.
So I managed to get to that. To the 6th world and I've got probably halfway, a few levels into that. There was just one level on World 5 which is rock hard and really stitches you up towards the end, and then the difficulty curve actually eased off a little bit after that, and I went back to just being kind of mesmerised by how good it was. The boss at the end of the 5th world is so good and so amazingly well animated, and the music. It has this. The music's like the kind of like. It's the sound of, you remember like N64 era. That kind of digitized music that N64 games would have, and if they ever played like metal music, it would be like that. Yeah. It's that, but actually played on a proper like electric guitar, but proper. I don't. It's just brilliant music. I don't have the adjective to describe it really. And it's a brilliantly designed boss. Very very clever, beautiful. It plays tricks on you. It's just marvelous. And then you move into the final world, and the music in that is this kind of stirring pastiche of Skyrim and Game of Thrones type music, where you move through these icy worlds. It's something else. And as I was playing more and more of it, I was just saying to myself, and I'd just come off playing Mario 3D World to death, and it's like, I think this is actually better than that. Certainly for an adult experienced platform game. I know one's 2D and one's 3D. But as good as Mario 3D World is and how inventive it is, I did die a lot of times because I've not been able to judge the 3D on the game, and that is a problem with that game. That isn't a problem on the 3DS version for obvious reasons. But exactly like you said, even though that one level wound me up, I always found it was always winding me up in a charming way, a little bit like you in some ways. But but after I moved past that, the level of design and how meticulous is the word, how incredibly well crafted, but then surprising and inventive every single level is something else. I think it's an incredible game. I went back and read some reviews of it, and I really thought some people kind of missed the ball a little bit. And I had my own review, and I'd now rate it higher than what I rated it at the time, because I didn't get the chance to get through to the end of the game. For the timescale, I had like 1 day to review it or something like that. Just one of those types of situations. Yeah, but draw a line in the sand. I'd say this is the best platform on that console, and that's quite a statement, to be honest, considering what else is on that machine. But it's an incredible game, and that music, whoa.
Yeah. It's one thing that makes me laugh is that I couldn't believe, there was a moment where I just thought, I can't believe this isn't winding me up, because I've just died 10 times in the same bit, and the music when you die is like the most annoying sound. It should be, how does it go? But it's aggressively like,
when you go up in a balloon again, you're like, fucking twat on your balloon.
It really is aggressively irritating. I don't know why I wasn't getting pissed off with it, because I was just like, that music has been designed to just point its finger at you and just call you a tosspot. But I mean, I'm not at the end yet, obviously, but it's up there with the best games.
Oh, but you have done the Kraken level.
The Kraken level
on World 4. The giant squid, the giant octopus thing.
I meant to mention that. I thought that was the weakest level I played in the game.
No way.
When it's knocking when you're swimming up and it's knocking chunks of the back wall out.
Yeah, and you've been chased by this whole thing through the whole level. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, I thought, to be honest, I think it's probably because you mentioned it. After I finished, I was like, but that was very, very soon after the third or the fourth minecart level, where it changes perspective and you're bouncing from rail to rail to rail to side. And I was just like, that's another. Those minecart levels are just amazing. Yeah, they always, every time they just save part of their sort of oomph for those, because they're always just like a real. But anyway, I mean, the game is just stunning.
Yeah, it's mustard. It is absolutely mustard.
It really is. Okay, so that was your 3?
That was my 3, yeah.
Okay. My number 3 is a game called The Last Tinker City of Colour on the PlayStation 4. Have you heard of this?
What's this?
It originally came out as a PC game before the summer, I think in April or May, and now it's on PS4. It's aimed at very, very young kids. You're alerted to it straight away. I hadn't heard of this game before I played it, but there's a very enthusiastic narrator and animated crayon drawings and stuff in the opening cutscene, and it just gave the game away pretty sharpish. Also, you pick the difficulty at the beginning. It's normal, hard, and kids mode. And there's also an instant death mode. But the fact that there was a kids mode, I just thought, okay. The game's set in a very garish, colourful world made of what appears to be a cross between fabric and crayon drawings. Okay. It's a very mild Zelda-light world. And Zelda is clearly an influence, because there's no jump button in the game or dialogue. It's all text. And you walk around this world at the beginning, and there's shopkeepers complaining about you stealing their bananas, and there's a band of kids who harass you with mild insults, and I suspect that those kids may get their comeuppance later if you know the formula. But yeah, it's very, very simple. It's a third-person action game, and you're a monkey in a jumper called Koru. Square is punch, and it tells you at one point there's a combo system, and all you have to do to activate a combo is hammer that one button. Everything else in the game is on R2. So you hold down the right trigger and you run, you jump in the right context sensitive. It's Assassin's Creed, basically. Transition between scenery, etc., etc. The sort of the plot, the story is very heavy-handed indeed. But you meet this at the beginning. You meet this school teacher, and she talks about how segregation is wrong, and all colours must be allowed to come together in unity because there's these 3 different species: blue, green, and red. All colours are equal, and it's very heavy-handed. Before you know it, after you've realised what the story's about, you have to go and find a cure for your little piñata friend who got beaten up by a load of reds because the reds are very angry, and that's the plot. On PS4, this got very good reviews when it came out on PC. On PS4, the frame rate is very poor, and the animation is faintly crude, I'd say. But there's no real detail to anything. But despite that, it's very charming visually, and the target audience of young children will not care one bit about that. Needless to say. Incidentally, I don't know if the frame rate was a problem on PC, as I said. So I can't vouch for that. This is a very difficult game not to like. It's just a very well-meaning, obviously, and it's a periodically efficient and charming game for very young kids. And as a PS4 game that's aimed at that audience, it's 3 or 4 times better than Knack, no question.
Really?
It gets weirder and more visually inventive as it goes on as well. So what I thought was going to be quite a monotonous game actually is anything but visually. The gameplay elaborates a little bit. There's these colour sort of specific attacks you can do and stuff. It broadens out a little bit, but it stays... It's actually also the frame rate issues happen less as it goes on to as the game kind of expands and gets a little bit bigger. The frame rate problems they happen less and less, which is a little bit strange. At the beginning, it's a real problem, there are a couple of sort of mystifyingly poor sequences, such as there's an insta-fail chase bit, and there's one of the weakest stealth set pieces in history. Again, inspired by Zelda. But yeah, like I said, this is a very difficult game to dislike. It's way too simplistic to engage sort of most adults. But as a very tame and very forgiving introduction to sort of 3D platforming games, it's far better than I was expecting. It's not aimed at me, but it's the kind of thing I'd sort of recommend to someone with kids. Absolutely.
What's it called again? Tinker.
The Last Tinker: City of Colour.
Okay. And it's out now, is it?
I think it came out. I think it comes out tomorrow.
Okay.
It's either out tomorrow or it was out last Friday. But and I'm pretty sure it's download only. And I don't know how much it costs. But I was surprised. It started off. I thought this is going to be hellish, and it's not. It's just it's a game for a very very young crowd, and it's yeah.
I might have a look. I might have a look at that. It sounds right.
Well, I'll put some footage on our YouTube channel so you can check that out.
Oh, nice. Right. My number 2 then is EA Sports UFC. They have released a second or third content patch. The post-release support for this game is truly something. EA gets a bad rap a lot of the time. Some of it justified, most of it probably not. But the support for EA Sports UFC has been something else. In this pack, which is free like the other one was, you get a further 3 fighters, completely body scanned, look the real part, who are Matt Brown, Mike Pyle, and Stipe Miocic, names which will be lost on many, but for those who follow the sport, big enough names, especially Matt Brown is on a hell of a run at the moment. And a bunch of new gameplay changes, which have really, again... made the game a hell of a lot better. The most obvious one of those is the fact that you can now catch kicks, something that was absent from the game kind of mystifyingly, because that's something that you will see happen if someone mistimes a kick to the body. Someone will catch it, be it in kickboxing or MMA, quite a common thing. And now that happens, and it does 2 things. One, it adds just an extra element to the game, which is always good anyway for variety purposes. But also... one of the main strategies people who've been playing online have been using is spamming body kicks because it takes down the opposition's stamina quite a lot if you get caught with a few body kicks. So they'd spam body kicks and then take you out from there. But when they're doing that, they also deplete their own stamina, obviously because they're throwing strikes. Now, as their stamina gets low, you can catch the kicks if you time the parry right and stitch them up. They're there free to be smashed in the face, tripped up, taken down. It's a really nice counter to that. It looks good, and it's just a really cool extra animation in the game, really, which it's a significant change. There are smaller changes, like one of the most irritating moves in the game was a very, very stupid sweeps in jiu-jitsu is what happens when the guy on the bottom gets the guy on top of him on his back and then becomes the guy on top himself. So in most martial arts, a sweep is kicking the guy's legs out, but in jiu-jitsu, that's what's called a sweep. A very irritating, stupid sweep, which happened all the time in EA UFC. It's called a scissor sweep. It's basically the guy on bottom with his legs around the guy on top. Shifts, so his shin is then on the guy's kind of rib cage, and uses that and his other leg to scissor him over, and then he ends up on top. This, to my knowledge, has happened all of 2 times ever in the history of the UFC. It's the first sweep you learn in your first white belt class of jiu-jitsu. It stops working against good guys very, very quickly, and it certainly doesn't work when you haven't got gi material, clothing to hold on to. But in this game, fucking John Jones, Cain Velasquez, TJ Dillashaw, people like that are getting swept with this stupid sweep all the time. That still is in the game, but it's now classed as an advanced sweep. Only certain people can do it. It takes a specific command to do it. It's made the ground game way better straight away. Smaller tweaks beyond that in terms of the timing on some of the ground stuff. You can now manually taunt, which bizarrely wasn't in the game before, but it's kind of cool. And they've tweaked the stamina so that it just represents a real fight better. It's still not a perfect game by any stretch. It still lacks in variety sometimes. The judges' decisions are still an absolute joke. I know people say it's like the real thing. Yes, but these are just clearly a coin flip. I had a match where, the numbers backed me up on how much I smashed the other guy, and somehow he won. It was ridiculous. His head was bright red on the little meter. His face was covered in blood. He'd hit me 20 times all fight in 5 rounds, and he won. It just gibberish, but never mind. Just really, really good post-game support and post-release support. You can't fault it, really. It's turned a game that I was disappointed in, but thought I had potential, into a very, very solid mixed martial arts game. It's still not perfect. I think the guys in charge are getting more of an understanding based on community feedback, because that is a fervent community of people who know that sport inside out, and they've really listened. They've definitely taken a lot of interest in the Reddit. It has its own subreddit where the developers they've been replying to posts since before the game came out, and a lot of the changes, I would say, probably come from there. And they've all been for the best. And like I say, you've had now six fighters for free. What game does that? There's been no paid DLC. That you can pay for Bruce Lee and Hoist Gracie, and you have been able to do that since the game came out. But nobody else has been charged for so far. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That sounds. Are they going to continue?
I think so. I think they're going to definitely do another one. They've got another one planned. Yeah. So. Yeah, I think there are more fighters out there to add. So, yeah, awesome stuff, really.
Yeah, it's a kind of a shame that the information's not going to get out wide enough that it's a better game than it was when it launched. Because a price drop and that information would mean that a lot more people.
I wouldn't be surprised if that appears on the EA Access service in a few months, maybe beginning of next year, to time with the big fight, the John Jones Daniel Cormier fight's been put back to January because John Jones got injured. Wouldn't be surprised if that appeared on EA Access around that time when everybody's all hyped for that.
Are they? I assume EA. Whenever I see UFC recently, there's the game's still all over it's being advertised quite heavily. I suppose they're not going to keep that up much longer, are they?
What do you mean, on the UFC or in?
When you watch a UFC, yeah, it's either on the.
Oh yeah, that'll be there. That'll be there just permanently because it's such a good. They want that game to sell as much as EA do. So yeah, that'll be there. They keep having the real fighters play it and the Q&As and all that sort of stuff. So they're certainly pulling up their end of the bargain. And the game, the good thing about the game is it looks fucking amazing and it has people getting knocked out in it. So you can draw a casual crowd in to it looks real sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, well that's really good to hear. I'll have to dip back in at some point.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the fights I played. It's markedly better than it used to be, and it was always okay, but now it really is quite good.
Wicked. Okay, good. Very good. Okay, well, my number 2 is FIFA 15 on the Xbox One.
Oh, yes.
I am playing the Seasons beta at the moment. I think there's an Ultimate Team beta as well. I'm not part of that. I'm just playing Seasons. First off, I've never been part of a closed FIFA beta before, but I was surprised by how much content there is in it, because I was expecting kind of a demo situation with 2 teams, 1 stadium, but if not every team in the game, if it's not every team, it's almost every team.
Oh, really?
And loads of different environments to boot. I should very, very briefly, just for the sake of context, briefly reiterate my issues with the current gen versions of FIFA 14, the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 versions of FIFA 14. I don't just think that that's a bad game. I think it is garbage. I've played hundreds of games of it online, and it's an exhausting shit show every single time, because the outcome the problem that we haven't really covered is that the outcome almost always feels predetermined. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a 0-0 draw ever in FIFA 14 on Xbox One, but for example, it's so tiresome to have a game where you're playing really thoughtfully, having 10 or 20 or 30 times as many shots on target as your opponent, and yet every pass is randomly intercepted. You stop being able to win a single ball in the air. Your keeper just decides to stand there gormlessly like a third goalpost. It really is an incomparably lousy video game. I reckon that watching a VHS video of someone playing Sabutio is a better football video game than the newest versions of FIFA 14. I mean, we've spoke about it at length. It's I think it's trash. Plus, I mean, as I'm just re-going over old ground, the way to play it is to get possession near the halfway line and then press lob through ball. That's how you win games. That's just how you play FIFA now. Press lob through ball. And although it's not quite as foolproof a way of scoring in FIFA 15 as it was in FIFA 14, it's still something that resulted in a goal at least once in every single game I've played of the FIFA 15 beta. Of which I've had probably between 15 and 20 games. But anyway, the new stuff. There are some very, very brief new animations that play before free kicks and goal kicks. Just of either the ball being placed on the ground or the player or keeper taking a few paces back from the ball, just to alleviate that problem, the FIFA 14 problem where opponents online don't press A to skip an incident replay and they wait until a random moment, at which point you mistakenly press A to skip it also, and then it leaves you to accidentally take a short pass, which 90% of the time is then intercepted. So this is better than that, obviously. I mean, it slows the game down, but it's a necessary evil, an unfortunate one, but what can you do? The lengthier cutscenes that you spoke about last week or the week before, they're beyond pointless once you've seen them once. It's a very strange and I have to say kind of desperate thing to focus on in a football game. But yeah, whatever. There's this new auto search feature after each match in seasons, so it just throws you right back into matchmaking if you don't opt out, which is quite cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. They have vaguely approximated Pro Evolution substitution layout. So when you pause the game, the players are kind of laid out on a miniature pitch, and
that's right. Subs... Yeah, I saw this when I played it at Gamescom. I'd forgotten, but yeah.
So much better.
Yes, much better.
FIFA fans would always say, "Oh, I don't like the PES," but watch them change their minds en masse. In general, playing the game, I never ever felt as helpless in defence as I do in FIFA 14. Yeah. Those instances in 14 where defenders just stand there when a corner comes in.
Oh yeah.
That didn't happen to me at all. Yeah. I mean, that didn't happen to me at all. I felt like I was given almost as much control over my defenders as I am in Pro Evo. Almost. I felt like I was moving the players around as I was selecting who I wanted to select, and I was able to defend, and it makes the game far more enjoyable because of that. I also don't think I've conceded a headed goal from a corner yet. And again, that's something that happens all the time in FIFA 14. Once a match, if you're playing against the fucking giant with the ponytail.
Yeah, Ibrahimovic, yeah.
Yeah, just like, I don't know what, you need kryptonite to stop him from doing that, because every time, he's just a giant and he just nuts a ball in the onion bag every time. But you also have options as a goalkeeper. When for the 15-20 games that I've played online, nobody does long balls. They just throw the ball or pass it to the defenders right there, because the game now isn't constantly trying to fuck you over. Because in FIFA 14, short passes and throws by your goalie, they're too risky. You can't do them because there's always your defenders that aren't there, and you can't do that in FIFA 14. but it's still FIFA. So can slightly lesser players pull off moves like a superhero? Yeah, they can. Can a Brighton midfielder whack a ball into the goal on a volley from the halfway line? Well, I did it, so it happens. Yeah. So FIFA is still slightly idiotic. Also, goalkeepers are just fucking butterfingers, fuckwits sometimes. I don't think I saw a single ball caught. That's the thing that I'm sure they're going to change. That's why there's a beta. But I mean, I passed back to my keeper and he went, oh, he slammed it out like it was like... Stuff like that keeps happening. I haven't seen a keeper just grab a ball.
You can't grab the ball if you pass it back to him.
No. I mean, that's just one instance where I kicked and he went, and he flipped out.
Okay.
But that's an isolated instance. What I mean is, whenever you shoot on a goal, you're kind of guaranteed an instance where you can just steam in with a couple of other players and just pop it in after he's whacked it away because he doesn't grab.
That already sounds like problems.
Yeah, but this is why there's a beta, so I'm sure. Well, I hope they're going to change that. The commentary, perhaps needless to say, is the same as usual, but there is new stuff. I mean, I played against Chelsea and there was some talk about a controversial penalty recently, and when I was playing against Man United, one of the commentators said, we should have given the manager a bit more time. Aside from that, it's the same old stuff. Another problem is that every single game, someone has got a yellow card, and often more than that. I reckon the average is 2 yellow cards, and sometimes more than that. This is something that I hope they're going to tune before the game comes out. But a game in which there's just yellow cards flying around all the time, doesn't seem. Does it seem realistic? I don't watch enough football to know if that's realistic.
There's always yellow cards. But,
is there always yellow cards?
Yeah, always yellow cards. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I mean, I'd say the average was 2 per match.
That sounds fair.
Okay,
right. More than that, yeah.
Okay, all right. Oh, is that right? I didn't realise that was what football was like. I thought they were rare occurrences. But that shows what I know. There's a really nice touch in the when there's the post-match highlights after a game, there's little snippets of commentary in there.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's definitely more watchable. It feels like you're looking at TV. The panel-style menus are identical. I defy anyone to tell the difference between the FIFA 14 menus and these. But that's, I mean, who gives a shit? But the bottom line is that I think they really need to rebuild it now. I reckon that FIFA, just as it is, has overshot its zenith in terms of quality. For me, the best FIFA game they could possibly release right now is a re-release of FIFA 12. Because FIFA is just a house of cards, and every layer they add, they end up removing another one. It's just an annual tit-for-tat exchange of things. Oh, that's better. Oh, that's worse. Oh, that's better. That's worse. It's solidly fun at this point, but only prolonged play will reveal if it's as much of an unceremonious clusterfuck as the most recent versions of FIFA 14. We said this again. I'm repeating things that we've said a million times. We need to play it for the best part of a year to know if it's a load of crap or not. Yeah. But I just think that I don't know where they can't. They have nowhere to go. This needs a reboot, but it's a license to print money, so why would they bother? But even though I've not played it, I would bet all of my money on Pro Evo being vastly, vastly superior once again. Although quality doesn't really matter as much as it should, because I played the FIFA 15 beta with my brother, my younger brother, and he is massively into football. And he was just awestruck by so much, about the player animations and the number of stadiums in the game. He's just like, oh god, look at all those stadiums. And I was just like, I said, what difference does it make that there's stadiums in there? And he said, well, he was watching me play. He said, I can see where the light fixtures are, the cameras are set up, how the seating areas are laid out. I can tell you right now what stadium that is. And I just shrugged. And he was like, well, it's just cool, isn't it? I said, well, that's the key, isn't it? FIFA is good enough to entertain slightly undemanding people very comfortably. But when you add all that other stuff, but when you add all the licenses and the stadiums and the players and all of that stuff, you've got a monster. And I can't imagine it dying anytime soon.
No, definitely not.
Which, it's just a real shame. But I mean, who knows? Pro Evo lost its footing at the top of the tree partially by releasing what looked like the same game every year for way too long, and we're kind of in a vaguely similar situation now. We'll see. I don't know. Anyway, is FIFA 15 looking better than FIFA 14? Yes.
It will be interesting this year because that PES looks amazing. If you've seen that footage that's out there now, the compilation that chap's put out, he got a chance to capture some footage with Konami. And I mean, it looks amazing. I don't think anybody could watch that and go, "Fuck, that's at least piqued my interest," even as a FIFA fan, because I mean, it really does look like something else. But we shall see. We shall see.
Well, it's kind of a shame that all of the licenses mean so much to some people. It really is such a fundamental part of playing. Why would you play it? You know.
Yeah.
It's almost as if the quality of the game doesn't matter so much, and that's a little bit of a shame.
Yeah, this is the argument we used to have with people back in like 1998, but never mind.
Has FIFA always sold more than Pro Evo?
No.
No, I was going to say there were a few years when it was Pro Evo.
Quite a few years, yeah. Pretty much all through the PS2 era.
Yeah.
Pro Evo was bigger, and then they turned it around. So FIFA 09, I think, FIFA 2009 time, and then ever since then, FIFA's just blown up to insane levels in the last few years. 25 million or something crazy. But yeah, PES used to do comfortably outsell it for a while.
I remember trying to get Pro Evolution 3 and I just couldn't find it anywhere. Everywhere was sold out in Brighton. I just went to every shop, couldn't find it.
Yeah. It was the game. I mean, it really was. And they threw that away, but they're pulling it back. So
yeah, true.
Okay then. My number one, I'm assuming it's the same as your number one, is the Metro Redux.
Yep.
Cool. I played this on PC a little while ago now. I was asked to do a review for Games TM. I'm sure it's in their latest issue. A resprayed, remade, reduxed, whatever you want to call it, versions of both Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light. As I said, I played on PC. As far as I was aware, the version of Metro Last Light in the Redux was the same as the one that I'd already played to completion on PC. I couldn't really tell any difference. So I mainly focused, for the purpose of my review, as I'd already played that game, on 2033. And good God, I mean, they've turned what was already a cool but very sketchy game back when I played it on 360 into quite something in the new version. It looks amazing. It maintains that incredible atmosphere. They've sort of completely changed the gameplay systems even. They've incorporated like the stealth from Metro Last Light and the currency and things like that, and it almost feels like a completely new game, just that you happen to be walking through the settings of what it was before, but it's so much more accomplished than it used to be. And if you've never played the Metro games, and fair enough if you played a bit of Metro 2033 on 360 and it was a bit too sketchy, a bit too ropey for you, that's kind of how I felt. And you might not have played Last Light or whatever, but these are very, very, very special story-driven first-person shooters. That the closest comparison I can make is the Half-Life games.
Half-Life,
I mean, they really are. They're clearly influenced by them, but they're much darker and way more intense. They feel very Russian, Ukrainian, but they definitely have that Eastern feel, that bleakness and that hard edge that you can kind of lazily identify with those parts of the world, perhaps. But, it is what it is. And they're just brilliantly paced. It was kind of blend of this intense claustrophobic atmosphere and genuine sense of dread and unpleasantness, and then these amazing areas where you go out onto the surface of this post-apocalyptic, completely inhospitable and uninhabitable Russia. And those scenes in both Last Light and 2033, where you're gasping for air through this gas mask and having to wipe the stuff off it, and everything out there is just the worst thing you've ever possibly seen. They're really, really affecting. And this game is at a budget release. You get two shooters, one of which is only about a year old and is excellent, and then another one which has been the work that they've done to turn this into a completely modern shooter is amazing. I think the whole package is amazing, and I kind of wish I played it on console, in fact, because everything would have felt new then. I don't know why that makes much of a difference, but that engine seems to... my PC isn't massively friendly with that engine. It can run it fine, but it doesn't run it quite as well as it could do. But I'm pretty sure if I played it on PS4, I'd enjoy it even more. But it's like 30 quid or something? It's a ridiculous package.
Yeah. It really is. I mean, I played on Xbox One, and the presentation's terrific. The only bad aspects of it as a port, I mean, 2033 is a little bit sketchier than the Last Light port, but it's only really, I mean, there's non-player characters. It's almost as if the upgrade process somehow knocked them out of whack. Because they occasionally get stuck on scenery or just repeat lines of dialogue over and over again. There was two instances where I killed an enemy only for it to suddenly default to being alive and unaware, just standing there in the middle of a gunfight, alive, like no threat. And it's
I didn't have any of that, to be honest.
Okay, I mean, it might be exclusive to Xbox One, I don't know, but it was definitely jarring, but it doesn't happen very often at all. So I'm loath to mention it just because they're very tiny little moments, just sort of minor imperfections more than anything else. Slightly more of a problem is there's pronounced audio clipping when the game shifts from gameplay to cutscene, and the loading times between levels are surprisingly lengthy. But yesterday, and I haven't played it since yesterday, there was a 4 gig patch on Xbox One, so I haven't heard anything about what that involves, but I'm hoping that some of those minor issues are fixed by that. But yeah, I played both games as well. I played 2033 first, and I forgot how much I loved it when it came out. I honestly did. It's a story it's told very carefully, but there are great action set pieces in it, better than most shooters this side of Half-Life, like you say. It also requires a lot more patience because it's very slow and it wants to tell you a story about as much as it wants to be a compelling shooter. Both of the games are very stark, right down to the fact that there's no HUD. But the first one's just slower. It's more involving, but it's slightly less conventional and maybe more difficult for casual players to get into, I suppose. I do, however, think that Last Light is the better game. Just because in 2033 there are a few too many sort of precision jumping bits, and a couple of the siege set pieces go on for way too long. And there's moments where you're walking around the surface and then you just suddenly you're getting munched silently from behind, and There in Metro 2033 there are also some scripted deaths where you watch yourself die over like the best part of a full minute before you realise that you have to go and do something else. So it's old school in that way. Also, I don't know if this is the case on PC, but you can't move between the games without quitting and reloading the disc on Xbox One, which is really daft. If you're playing Metro Last Night and you want to go and play Metro 2033, you have to reboot the disc.
Yeah, same situation. I got them as Steam codes from the publisher, and they were two completely separate games. So yeah, I had to do the same thing.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's just slightly daft, really. But I mean, any complaints I have about the package really are they're trifling. I enjoyed going back to both of these games a great deal. And they are very good looking on Xbox One. And the lighting in particular is often jaw-dropping. And because these are stealth games, or they're meant to be played as stealth games if you're a purist, the shadows are very sharply defined, which really it adds to the experience no end when you're sort of skulking around in the dark. And I do like the fact that they have preserved 2033 really well, just because by default what they've done essentially is they've inserted the slickness of Last Light, in particular those genius twin radial inventory menus. They've put them into 2033 amongst other things, but if you want to play it as it was originally intended, the original game, you can if you play via survival mode. You can play Last Light in survival mode too, but it's a little bit jarring because that's really an action game at heart. 2033 works well as a shooter, very well, but Last Light doesn't work too well just as a stealth game. The transition doesn't work the other way around. I mean, these are very grim games.
Yes.
There's not a laugh or an upbeat moment in either of them, but they're not depressing because that world is designed so well. As cliched as some of it is, because it is another post-apocalyptic wasteland after all, but the little details just sell it so well. Like those lousy little string and tin can traps that you see occasionally in the occupied metro stations, or when you see a metro entrance and you just see that once upon a time they were unsuccessfully barricaded with what looked like chairs from like school chairs, or the nauseating sound of that Geiger counter noise when you're outside. Get me out! But it all comes together to create a really compelling world, and they're both great shooters, if in slightly different ways. If you play them as they're meant to be played, I loved playing both of them. It's a shame that this package is arriving so close to the launch of the year's biggest games.
Yes,
but I hope it sells well because it really deserves to. They're both terrific, really.
Yeah, pick it up if you're hungry for some if you're hungry for a shooter or a pair of shooters. But yeah, I mean, what a deal! 30 quid.
Really,
I
I
think
wasn't.
30 quid. I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, I think it's about that. But I wasn't expecting to really get completely sucked into both. I love playing both of them.
And Last Light really is a very, very good game.
Yeah, it is.
Very good.
Yeah, even if you only played it like I did earlier in the year, it's still worth going back to.
Yeah, definitely. Apart from there's a really, really awkward bit with a stripper at the end of the game, but it doesn't really matter. It's just rubbish. But, yeah, that's it. Another one in the can. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back. Am I back next week? I'm not back next week. I'm away next week, so I believe the podcast will be done with Mr. David Turner.
Fingers crossed.
But then we'll be back the following week for talk of Destiny and all good things. So thank you very much for listening. As always, please do check out us on Twitter at John Denton, at Chet Roivas, at Chet and Johns, and do have a look at the YouTube channel. Chet and John on YouTube, always video content going up there, 99.9% of which comes from Chet, so all credit where it's due. And it's good. It's good if there's games that we're talking about, we don't know what they look like, you can go and check them out, the indie games, and just general video review, action and other stuff, Titanfall things. Just go and check it out. You can just listen to me talking about it, or you could just go and check it out and you've already been there. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And all the other good things, if you want to do them, iTunes reviews and fucking tweeting us and telling all your friends and all that sort of stuff, you can do that if you want, or you can just do whatever you want. It's your own choice. But we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much for listening. See you next week.
Bye.
Still the funkiest music in history. Hit it.